first, I'm going to call this meeting of the East Gloucester Veterans Memorial School Building Committee to order. The meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. And I'll also add that these meetings are recorded, and the recordings of these meetings are available on the city's website. If you go to the IT department and click on that, you'll see a list of meetings that you can access in case you forget what you said and you need to remember before you go any further. Okay, so the first order of business is to introduce the new members of the school building committee. We have, I believe I can't see everybody. So we'll start with Kate Eunice, who's here as an East Gloucester parent. And if you'd like to just introduce yourself and
I'm Katie Eunice. I don't know a lot of you. I do know some of you. I currently have a 4th grader at East Gloucester. I have a 6th grader that just left East Gloucester. And I have a toddler who will probably not go to East Gloucester because we're Plum Cove. And my day job, I am an insurance agent.
Okay, thank you. And you didn't mention the clam.
Nope.
Okay. And we have Jameson Manning.
Can you hear me? Hi, I'm Jameson Manning. I'm a veteran's dad. I've got one 6-year-old, a kindergartner at Vets, and another daughter who's at Futures Behavior Therapy Center in Beverly. In my day job, in my regular life, I'm a fine gardener, an estate gardener, and a full-time dad.
Okay, thank you. And we have, I thought I saw Adam. Is Adam here?
Jonathan, it looks like he's in the attendees.
Oh.
I can move
Mr. Adam.
Yeah.
And so is Michelle Rogers.
Yeah. Okay. And there we go. So Adam, we're just, you were here at our last meeting, but if you'd like to just introduce yourself again.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Adam Roselle. I moved to Gloucester about 10 years ago. I am a full-time dad, but a part-time teacher at the Asera School in Winchester. It's a school for gifted kids. And I teach physics of design and physics of flight and a couple of cool courses for design and build challenges. I'm also a carpenter, general contractor, and I'm licensed in Boston, and my family, my father and my brother are both part of a business that we run. So happy to be part of this project as well.
Okay, we actually need to take a roll call for attendance. You know, this is a Zoom meeting. So Chris, would you like to?
Mark or Jonathan, could somebody enable me to share screen since I have the agenda and PowerPoint?
Okay. Maria is running is the host, so she can do that, I believe. Maria. But Chris, do you want to call the roll call?
Yeah, I can start it now.
Jonathan
Pope.
Here.
Richard Sapphire.
Here.
Greg Carter Martori.
Here.
Thank you. Kathy Clancy.
Here.
Thank you. Donna Compton.
Here.
Thank you. John Dunn.
Here.
Thank you. Gary Frisch.
Yes.
Thank you. Matt Fusco.
Here.
Thank you. Grant Harris.
Here.
Thank you. Ben Lummis.
Here.
Thank you. Joe Lucido.
Here.
Thank you. Ryan Marks. Okay. Jameson Manning.
Here.
Thank you. Amy Pasquarello.
Here.
Adam Russell, or did I say that right? Sorry.
Roselle.
Roselle, there we go.
Here.
Thank you. And Kathleen Munis.
Here.
Thank you. That's
So
all.
thank you very much.
Jonathan, would it be helpful that we introduce ourselves since we have the new members and maybe,
Sure, let's do that. You can start.
okay, Kathy Clancy, I am on the school committee. I have a son in the high school that's a junior, but he also went to East Gloucester for elementary school.
Okay, Gary, you want to go next?
Sure. My name's Gary Frisch. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the school district. And I've been here 2.5 years.
Ben?
Sure. Ben Lummis, Superintendent of Schools. I've been here, I don't know, a few months, I think.
Seems like forever, but.
No. Hey, Tom, while we're introducing ourselves, could you just take down the agenda, please?
You mean,
Just to stop the share so people can actually see each other.
okay. Okay. Okay, I will stop sharing just a second. Okay.
Well, while you're talking, Tom, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Tom Ellis. I'm with CBRE Erie. We're the owner's project manager.
Okay, and Jameson's, you've already done that. Rich?
Hi, Rich Sapphire. I'm the vice chair, community member, and the former superintendent.
Okay, Mr. Dunn?
Thank you, sir. John Dunn, CFO for the city of Gloucester.
Alex Corbett?
Sorry, I'm working on some technical difficulties over here. I'm Alex. I can't get my video to work for some reason, but I'm the project manager for WT Rich. John from the car.
Okay. Amy Pasquarello, who needs no introduction.
Amy Pasquarello, principal of East Gloucester School. Hello.
Chris Tremblay?
Yes, yeah. I'm Chris Tremblay. I'm working with the owner's project manager with Tom Ellis and Bill Booth.
Okay. Donna Compton?
Hi, I'm Donna Compton. I'm the purchasing agent for the city.
Let's see. Grant Harris, the one and only.
Oh, yes. Grant Harris, the IT director for the Gloucester Public Schools.
Okay. Greg Catamatori?
Greg Catamatori, I'm planning director with the city of Gloucester.
Joe Lucido?
Joe Lucido, assistant DPW director, city of Gloucester.
Kathy, Matt Fusco?
Matt Fusco, principal at the Veterans Memorial School.
And Michelle Rogers?
Hi, I'm Michelle Rogers. I'm the project manager for Dorn Whittier, and I'm helping Brad get through his technical difficulties. He's the principal in charge from Dorn Whittier, which you'll see in a few moments.
I think that's it. I got everybody. Bill, did I? No, I didn't get Bill Booth.
Bill Booth, I work with CBRE Erie. We're the OPMs.
Okay, great. Okay, so Tom, you want to put the screen back up, and we're going to move on. I just want to speak briefly about what the role of the building committee is, in particular for the new members, but also there's some confusion about things like the swing space and that sort of thing. So the MSBA is very specific about that there has to be a building committee, and that what sort of people are on it. So many of these people are here because of their position in the city or in the schools. And some people are here because they're community members or they have backgrounds in different things. And that's all spelled out. It's actually in your packet if you want to look at it, what the MSBA requires. But they don't talk too much about what the role, what the duties and responsibilities of the building committee are. We do select, the building committee was formed right after we were approved by MSBA to enter into eligibility. And one of the first things that happens when you go into eligibility is you form a building committee. The building committee is appointed by the mayor, by the administration. And the building committee is a committee of the city, not of the school. So the first task that the building committee had to do was to interview and put out an RFP and interview for the owner's project manager. And we selected CBRE Harry, and if you see this, Tom Ellis, as well as Bill Booth and Chris Tremblay are here from CBRE Harry. And they are basically our employees that are representing the interest of the city in the project, in the building project. The next thing we did was hire the design team. And Michelle is here from Doran Whittier, and they are tasked with designing the building and many other things leading up to this point. But at this point, their job is to actually put together working drawings for so the building can be built. We've already gone through the design process, and the building is designed. Now they just got to figure out how to build it. So the city is a little more specific about what building committees are supposed to be in the charter. And they give us general oversight of the design and construction of the building. We provide input on and direction of the project, and we approve changes in the design and construction. We also, and maybe John Dunn can explain this a little bit better, but we also approve all the invoices, but we don't have the checkbook. The city has the checkbook. And that's in John Dunn's hands. So we're just one cog in the wheel of paying for the school. Things do have to be reviewed by us as part of our oversight, and we vote on those. We will also be responsible for giving input on the details that will be coming up. For instance, what brick to use, what color to paint the classrooms, and that sort of thing. And later on in the evening, we'll be appointing some subcommittees, an interior and exterior subcommittee for the purpose of assisting the designers in that process. Having 18 members on a committee, it's a little bit cumbersome. So we try to do things, some things with subcommittees that bring it back for approval by the full committee. But you can just imagine if we had 18 people talking about colors, color scheme, what those meetings might be like. So are there any questions? And I can't see you, so you just have to speak up. Okay, well, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. And they were in the packet. We have to vote for a vote to approve the East Gloucester Veterans Project meeting minutes of October 1st, 2020. And I so move.
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion, corrections or omissions? Once again, with the shared thing, I can't see everybody, so.
So Jonathan, just on I'm looking at page, sorry, of the meeting minutes of October 1st on page 3 of 4. just Adam's name. It looked like Adam Frizzell was nominated, and it should be Roselle. So
Okay.
nothing to keep us from not approving them, but just
Okay,
would like to get that
We
accurate.
can,
As amended, yeah.
that's amended. We can amend that. That's easily. Anything else?
On the November 5th, there's just a typo. I don't know if.
We're just doing October 1st.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You hold your horses.
I will. I will.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else on October 1st? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Chris, could you call a roll call vote?
Yes. Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
Richard Sapphire,
Yes.
Greg Cutter-Martori.
I'll abstain. I wasn't present.
Okay. Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Donna Compton,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
Gary Frisch,
Yes.
Matt Fusco.
Yes.
Thank you. Grant Harris,
Yes.
Ben Lummis,
Yes.
Joe Lucido.
I was not there as well, so I'll have to abstain.
Okay, I'll note that. Jameson Manning.
I was not present.
Yep.
So Chris, I think the only other person would be Amy.
Okay, and Amy Pasquarello.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll.
Yeah, so I think that's
It's
it.
from Adam and Kathleen as well.
Yeah. They weren't members of the meeting, of the committee at that point.
Correct. Thank you.
So it passes 10 in favor and with 2 abstentions. And now we have the meeting minutes of November 5th, 2020. And I so move.
Second.
There you go. Okay. Are there any corrections or omissions?
If I may, Mr. Chair, on page 3 or 4, there's a typo. The 6th bullet down, it says design a notified SPC of the intention to initiate supplemental intention. There's a typo there.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of November 5th, 2020 as amended. Can we have a roll call vote, Christopher?
Yes. Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
Richard Sapphire,
Yes.
Greg Cutter-Martori,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Donna Compton,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
Gary Frisch,
Yes.
Matt Fusco,
Yes.
Grant Harris,
Yes.
Ben Lummis,
Yes.
Joe Lucido.
I think it's just Amy and Adam.
Oh, and then Amy, sorry. And then I'll go to Amy Pasquarello
Yes. Yes.
and Adam Roselle.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to the next item on the.
Could we back up just one slide we had in here real quick? And this was for the new members, is to
okay.
just to kind of go through the MSBA process.
Sure.
At kind of where we are. Michelle graciously put this together to kind of show where we are in the process, that, forming the team is the OPM and design team. We've just completed the feasibility and schematic design phase right here. And then the funding of the project is through the city vote, but also to the MSBA funding process. And we're partially through that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And as she said, we are here. So this is finishing the design before it goes into construction. So that's the big overview of the MSBA flowchart.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And the next item of business is the project scope and budget agreement with MSBA.
I don't know, John Dunn, I know you received a copy of that. I guess we all did electronically, but that has been executed and processed by the MSBA.
So yes, we sent all the information in MSBA. We signed everything first, and we're now in receipt of a signed copy from the MSBA. So we're good to go.
Right. Now, the next step is to get certified minutes of the city council approval of the funding and everything else. And John will be working to get that documented, which then will be part of the preparations for the project funding agreement, which
Yes.
is the next MSBA document that actually then lays out all the details for the funding. So anyway, okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the city legislative update. The Article 97 at the city council's last meeting, we had asked for a couple amendments to the Article 97 disposition, which was passed by the state legislature, both houses, and signed by the governor. So it's basically law, but we have to go back and amend it because of a couple of timing issues. We knew these were going to be problems as they came out of, as we got it back, but the decision was not to do anything about it until the vote, the override vote passed, because if it didn't pass, there wasn't any reason to do anything about it. So number one is the timing on the softball field. What it said in this, what was passed was that the softball field would be replaced as soon as the Matos Field was unusable, and of course that's not possible. Joe Lucido has met with the Women's Softball League, and I believe he could just tell us a little bit about where they are in the process of building the new field. If you could do that, Joe.
Sure. So we actually have a designer on board. We did in fact meet with the women's softball group last week. Myself, Director Hale, Brian LaFata, the athletic director, and members of that group. So as I said, we do have a designer on board. We basically told them, they would be able to utilize Matos Field through probably June of next year. And then at that point, we'd have to, shuffle some scheduling around. But our hope would be that the Green Street Fields would be functioning the following summer, depending on what the fall and spring growing season look like. But we've actually reached out to the mayor and asked her to start putting together a building committee for that project as well. The softball group took it very well, and they're very, very willing to work with us and the other groups in the community that utilize that space.
Great. Thank you. The other item on the amendment to the Article 97 was the timing of the demolition of East Gloucester School and the turning over of that property to the city with Article 97 protections as open space. It's fairly obvious that we can't demolish the school until we build the new school. So there will be once again, it's just a timing thing. There will be a 2-year lag there between when we start to utilize the Matos area for building the new school, but it'll be a couple years before we're able to tear down East Gloucester when the students move in there. Is there anything you want to add to that, John?
Yeah, I just want to inform the new members, if they're not aware, that funding is already in place for both the construction of the new ball fields, the swing space that is going to happen when the students and faculty move from veterans, and also then for the demolition, remediation, and site work at East Gloucester. So that is outside of the funding that was approved on Tuesday for the construction piece of the project, but now both pieces are in place.
So the other thing that happened at the city council meeting last Tuesday was they did approve the loan order to actually borrow the money, which will be paid back by the debt exclusion override, and that will then be reimbursed up to $26,900,000 by MSBA. So the money's in place, the land is in place. We are really just ready to go ahead and start trying to get a building built. Any questions on that? Next item is the National Grid Customer Energy Rebate Program. We've been in discussions with National Grid. There are a number of rebates programs that are available to us, and I don't know whether Tom or Michelle want to speak to that.
I'll start, and maybe Michelle can add in a little bit about what's happening on the design side, but just so everyone's aware that we're starting discussions, I want to thank Denise. Let's see if I pronounce the name right, Rollo, who's a Gloucester resident, who's actually engaged in the National Grid Mass Save Energy Rebate Program. So she's been very helpful in getting us pointed in the right direction. And we're moving forward on that. That will work its way through, but it's a looking at an energy use reduction program of where we can save money relative to reducing energy use. This building's going to be a full electric building. So we're starting that process and wanted the committee to be aware of that, so that there will be funding rebates that come back into the project budget appropriately as the project moves forward. So Michelle, I don't know if you have any additional comments at this point.
No, not at this moment, just that our design team is working to move that forward. And as you all know, that we're working with a high efficiency building and looking at an all electric program. So we should be doing pretty well with this program.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, my understanding is that the rebates are if we meet certain criteria on energy efficiency, they will rebate X number of dollars or parts of a dollar up by the square foot of the building. Right. So with 90,000 square feet, if we get 50 cents, that's $45,000 we're going to get back, right, which is good.
Right.
Let's see, you have swing space. Okay, we got two different agendas here. There's not a whole lot.
I moved them around a little bit. I'm
okay.
Sorry about that. Yes.
It's okay. Swing space. There's not a whole lot to talk about the swing space. The RFP is is out in the community right now. The mayor will appoint a committee to review the responses to the RFP, and then it will we'll have to put in negotiations with whoever has the successful proposal for space. The RFP was, I believe, in our packet at our last meeting.
I'm not sure that it was, okay. But we could distribute that to the committee. Yeah.
We can distribute that to the committee just so they can see what they're looking for, but it won't. They're not due in until next Wednesday, I believe, the 15th. Is that correct?
Yes. So they're due next Wednesday, the 15th at 11 a.m. The mayor has, even though, excuse me, I haven't notified everybody yet, the mayor has approved the RFP review committee. It's going to be moi, Bill Sanborn, Director of Municipal Inspections, Ben, Matt Fusco, Kathy Clancy, and Melissa Texera Prince. So there's 6 people. Usually like an odd number, but I think we should be able to work together. I don't expect any vote to come down 3-3. I'm also not expecting a huge slew of responses to this. So we're going to have to move fairly quickly. My intent would be to try and get the responses either into everybody's hands that afternoon of the 15th, depending on how they're submitted to us, or no later than the morning of the 16th. And then we're going to have to hit the ground running. So get your reading glasses together.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go with your order, Tom. So the next item up is the OPM and designer contract amendment update. One of the things that we have to do is re-up our contracts with the OPM and the designer, and we're in the process of doing that right now. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Tom.
No, at this point. So
There's nothing to be, the city, the contract is between the principals of this and the city. We are tasked with the oversight of that contract, but it is not we don't sign the contract, the mayor signs the contract. So we're not actually part of the approval of the contract at this point. Our job was to pick out the people that that they're going to go into contract with, and we've done that. So
yes, you're right, Jonathan. Technically, the mayor is the contractual authority in the city, and either she will or will designate people to negotiate contracts with both the OPM and the design firm, and we'll be moving forward on that over the next week to 10 days.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the budget update.
Right.
Tom?
So in your package was a more detailed budget summary. We've rolled it up for the purpose of this presentation. And this is the feasibility and schematic design phase budget for the new members, which pretty much allocated the $1 million budget, which was appropriated by the city for this phase. And it's broken down into three basic buckets, as we say: the OPM number, which is 01, and the architect's design 02, and then environmental and site work, which are a series of additional service requests for specific items. We are at the point now where we're getting close to the end of that. We are invoicing out the balance of our contract for the phase. We haven't invoiced in a while, so that's why it's in the order of magnitude it is. It's from February going forward. And there are a few items left of additional service requests for things that are going to be completed or that are still left. So, but anyway, so that's where we are. And on the agenda tonight was our invoice, and that was in your packet. It had been reviewed in detail by the chair, vice chair, and the CFO in advance. So it's being presented to the committee tonight for approval.
Any questions on the budget? I would just like to say that both the OPM and the design team, because of the extended time period of trying to resolve where the building was going to go and the legal issues around that, have overextended their time and the work that they've done far beyond what they had planned on doing initially when they agreed to these things. So they have a considerable investment on both parts in this project at this point. So, next item, are we going to go to invoices, Tom?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's at the bottom of that page. The invoice approval. It's got the invoice number and the amount.
Right. So there's nothing from Dorn Whittier? There's
No, I think they've built out their basic services, and I think, I don't know if there's, Michelle, whether you wanted to opine on the remaining balances of the work that is, has not been, there's committed funds, but whether there's additional invoices coming forward. So.
We have a little bit outstanding with our geotechnical engineer,
Mhm.
and we have a little bit of money that we may be using with the hazardous materials. We're just going to keep that there until we get all our contracts signed with everybody else.
Right.
And see if we're going to be using that prior to.
Right.
Those contracts are just moving it into the.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so we have in our packet the invoice from CBRE Harry, invoice PJIN 20021-567 for $121,102. And I so move.
Second.
Okay. So Tom, this basically closes out your part of the feasibility?
On our fixed fee, yes. It bills out the completed fee for this phase.
Okay, are there any questions or discussion? Once again, I can't see everybody, so just speak up if you have a question or. Okay. Seeing none, Christopher, could we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
Richard Sapphire,
Yes.
Greg Kettemer-Torrey,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Anna Compton,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
Gary Frisch,
Yes.
Matt Fusco,
Yes.
Grant Harris,
Yes.
Ben Lummis,
Yes.
Joe Lucido,
Yes.
Jameson Manning,
Yes.
Amy Pasquarello,
Yes.
Adam Roselle,
Yes.
and Kathleen Eunice.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. That passes unanimously. Project schedule, is that next?
Right. Okay. So what we provided, and this was in your packet, is the upcoming school building committee meetings in the DD phase that will get us through to the next MSBA package submission, which is in March, end of March, which is the design development package. So there's a series of meetings that have been scheduled already. The key piece will be the school building committee meeting of March 25th, which will require a vote of the committee to approve the DD package to be submitted to the MSBA on March 30th. So everything that's being done, and there's a lot of moving parts between now and then that the design team will be working on to finalize the drawings and the scope. We will be doing some cost estimates toward the end of this phase with the construction manager to reaffirm the cost piece, and we will we're updating the overall master construction schedule. So hopefully at maybe not next Thursday, maybe we might be able to do that, but shortly there, update some of the more distant milestones of when we're doing that, so that the dates are in fact the correct target dates. A couple of other activities that need to be added, and we'll be talking later this in the meeting about the subcommittees for the school building committee for the interior and exterior, when those committee meetings will occur. And then we'll start layering in potential, local permits and reviews with different city agencies that are going to be engaged in the process. So those will start to be added as we move forward. So there's a lot of moving parts, but these are the key milestones for the school building committee itself.
So, Tom, I think you're, sorry, did I interrupt somebody?
No, I was just gonna say, any questions?
Yeah, so Tom, you mentioned a couple things. Everything that's being done. But can you explain for those folks who don't know what a DD or a design development package is? Can you explain what that is so people have a sense of what that entails?
We can. There is a piece toward the end of the presentation where I think Michelle's going to talk a little bit more about it. But basically, it's taking and progressing the drawings and the schematic design package as stipulated by the MSBA is, I guess, what we call a robust schematic design. It has got a lot of material in it, and it is very detailed. So, and that's the purpose of that, is to be sure there's either something's graphically shown or there's something written in the specification to describe everything that's in the building. So the next phase is to take that information and to develop it further. So, you know, and so it's putting more detail into the drawings, into the specification. It's a good example is like, you know, we're engaging with National Grid. So there may be some changes in some of the pieces of equipment, some of the strategies. So, you know, and the design team will continue to work with the educators, the principals, Matt and Amy and Ben on the educational components of the building, things that might get, you know, tweaked a little bit or changed. You know, again, they're not going to be, you know, adding scope to the project. They're going to be defining it and describing it better. So I know that's kind of an overview. I don't know, Michelle, if you or Brad have any other comments about that now. I know we've got some time to kind of show some of that stuff a little bit later.
Well, we have those slides at the end, which we can talk about.
Yeah, let's do it then. And then as we go forward, I mean, you mentioned this, Tom, but I just want to be clear about it. Is these are sort of school building committee meeting dates. Got that important for the school building committee to know and the public to know. But if you could also then, as you said, everything that's being done, if you can in the upcoming meeting, perhaps next week, you know, sort of layer into this, you know, some of those things that actually are being done, so we can see them just, you know, on the screen here.
Right.
You mentioned some of them in passing, but it's you know, those folks who aren't watching this right now won't see that unless we actually put it on a slide.
Right. I think the one thing we were working on, again, we've had some meetings with the design team and the construction manager, and us to kind of shake out all the cobwebs of the schedule. You know, the schedule that was created as part of our original proposal, or let's say the designers, when the designer came on, there were a lot of assumptions. Same thing when the construction manager came on board. There was a tentative schedule that they submitted their proposal on. Now the rubber's meeting the road, basically. You know, everything's starting to look at with more fine detail. You know, the design team's looking about kind of how everything fits together in terms of the delivery packages. How many early packages are we going to have? You know, when are things going to be bid out? And so we've been working back and forth with the construction manager and the design, you know, Doran Whittier and WT Rich to shake out all those things. So as we're moving forward to that, then we'll have more specific dates for some of these major milestones as we go along. So I think it's important. Again, we're always looking at what's the best sequence of events and activities to benefit the project as a whole, which that may mean, you know, pushing some things out and pulling some other things in or whatever as we move along. You know, we're not going to change the end date. The occupancy date's the same date. You know, the move-in's the same. But good example would be is as we go forward, you know, WT Rich is looking exactly when they're going to be doing the work relative to winter conditions. And so we may, you know, they may recommend that we move some things along or accelerate or move forward to take advantage of the opportunity to either not have to spend a lot of money on winter conditions or whatnot. So we're really, that's kind of the level of magnitude that of what we're looking at in the schedule. So, yeah, you know, but we can, we'll focus first on the design phase, the DD phase, a schedule that's of work that's going on between now and March. But those the work that's going to be done in that time will include kind of the long view of the overall schedule. So,
Great. That'd be helpful for the building
Yeah.
committee and the public to know what's ahead
Right.
in the DD phase. That'd be very helpful, the different
Right,
pieces.
right.
Great, thank you.
okay. So, okay. So I think we're heading into you.
Any other questions? Okay. Ben, you want to talk a little bit about your committee, which is basically not really a committee, but a working group that you are going to take over working on communications?
Yes, so thank you, Jonathan. So exactly right. So we've been working on and thinking about how to strengthen our communications around the building project, especially as we enter the phase where people will begin to see things happen. Not as much quite yet, but we want to make sure that we're geared up to do that. But particularly as you know, final decisions are made on things, we've entered a new phase, obviously, with design development, as Tom was just explaining. So I really need a way to communicate the work of the committee and the progress of the project, the school building project, to the school communities, but also the larger community as well, and also the community of folks who live around veterans and those who are connected to veterans and East Gloucester. So I'll talk about three pieces here, and then we'll have some folks that would like to join us for this advisory group. First, we need to inform folks, and that communication really begins with the building committee. So what we're working on is having a detailed agenda posed to public ahead of time. We've been doing that, but do always want to do that ahead of time. Clear presentations that are easy for the building committee and the public to understand. So we'll continue to improve those. And sort of move away from primarily, just verbal updates that people can't see or can't read about. While the meeting minutes are thorough, most folks in the world don't read those. So we want to have clear presentations that we can then actually very quickly post on a revamped project website, where the public can easily find project meetings, project schedule, project updates, information about upcoming public meetings, and also project history. We have all of this on our site and have been putting on our site for years now, but we need to revamp the project website so it's just easy to get to, and people can find the latest information and upcoming information a little more easily. And also to inform the public, just like you might see it at building project sites, we want to have bulletin boards at the veteran site and also outside the East Gloucester School with project information updates. And that may be, the latest schedule, that may be, as we get into, that might be news about something that's happening on the site. As we get into, down the road into construction, that might be about traffic patterns or, what's the latest, that's happening in terms of what's actually being constructed. But that way, people who are passing by, people who are in the neighborhood can easily get an update as well. So that's inform if you can go to the next slide, please. So we also think about including folks. So we'll have outreach through a variety of means. So first of all, Grant is creating an email listserv that community members can sign up for. We can easily reach the school communities, the families from the East Gloucester School or Veterans School. But it's much more difficult to reach neighbors, community members, anyone who wants to know about the site. With the city's voters supporting the site, it's really a Gloucester, a citywide project. And we want to make sure people who want to know can easily find out and get email updates about everything from announcing these meetings to the latest time frame to any upcoming public forums that might be happening. We've considered and we need to think about whether we want to do mail announcements or post flyers of public hearings or significant public meetings for those who are living near the veteran site. So that's a possibility. And then also we will be providing updates to the school committee after each school building committee meeting. And as necessary, we certainly would like to provide periodic updates to the city council as well. So folks can be included in the information, including in meetings, and really pull them in by meeting directly with folks as much as meeting directly with folks and communicating directly with folks. So that's include. inform, include in the last one? The next slide, please.
I only had 2 slides. There was 3, but one had nothing on it. Let me see.
Well, I guess that's what you have.
I'm sorry.
So, okay, let me find out what I sent you. Just give me a moment.
Do you want me to? Do you want to share your screen? I apologize for that.
Yeah, I will. Just give me a moment to find it. Shouldn't
Okay.
take long.
Okay, I will stop sharing my screen here for that.
Great.
And then I'll incorporate that into the meeting record here.
Great. 1 second.
Oh, you know what?
Okay, so can someone see that?
Yep.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. 1 second. I'm not sure. I can't see. Oh, I'm just making sure I can see some of you. Now I can. So engage, which means public forums for community members. We'll probably have one after the holidays for the school communities to give them update on design development and what that means and what the timeline is on that. And then also make sure they know about the project timeline. We also would like to give folks, who attend those a chance to ask questions and ask questions about the project as well. School staff will also be included in considering design elements based on their role. So that could be on the interior, for example, as the Dorn Whittier team, further refines the design and the pieces and surfaces that go into the and work with the design subcommittees. Once the design committees do some work on that, we'll also make sure we get some input from staff members as well. So that's about engaging folks. And then the last piece on that is, well, who's doing all this work? And so we're looking, some folks we've talked to already from the building committee. Myself, obviously, would be involved in a major way. Kathy Clancy, Katie Eunice, Grant Harris. It would be helpful, and you don't have to volunteer now, but to have 1 or 2 other people. And that will be working on, summaries of meetings that might be drafting emails that go out to the community. They might be producing flyers. It also will be, working through the revamping of the website as well to consult on that and help us understand what we should do to make sure it's more useful to the community. So that's the group so far. We're gonna have a meeting shortly, hopefully next week, to get going on these pieces and follow up from this meeting as well. So I'll stop sharing and see if folks have any questions about that. Work ahead.
Any questions or volunteers?
Or more volunteers.
Well, there doesn't have to be somebody on the building committee for this.
Great. That's exactly true. So I'll reach out to others as well and pull them in. Thank you, Jonathan.
Okay.
All right.
First, I'd like to apologize, Ben. When I pulled in your slides and reused them, they were, I'll call them again, below the fold. So I do have them, and that was my error. So I apologize for that.
Thank you.
So next order of business.
What's up next? So we want to go to the
Establish
design
the-
development update?
For establishing
Or
the
the establishing the subcommittees.
We can go either way. It's
Okay,
up to you.
Let's
How
do
you
the
want it.
subcommittees while we're talking about subcommittees. So we need to establish 2 subcommittees of this committee to work through interior and exterior decisions, materials, finishes. Exterior is going to be responsible for materials and finishes, as well as, probably things like playground equipment. We'll be looking for input on that sort of thing. So it's these will be subcommittees. They will report back to the full committee, and the full committee will take votes on their recommendations. Is the way it'll work. But there'll be public meetings. They'll be open to the public as recognized subcommittees of the building committee. So The first one is the Interior Subcommittee. Kathy, you were on the Interior Subcommittee for West Parish. Would you like to just talk a little bit about what you do?
Well, Doran Whittier has somebody assigned along with Michelle Rogers to take care of their specialty is all the interior options. So it's looking at fabrics, it's looking at material finishes that would be interiors. You know, if there's wood, there's you know, anything that kind of is the flavor. I think at West Parish, one example was deciding on the art displays that are in the main hall as you head towards the cafeteria. And, you know, talking about what suggestions though that artwork might be. And the end result was putting up reproductions from the Cape Ann Museum. Things like any other graphics that go places in terms of design and things that provide the atmosphere at the school. And then we view furniture separately from, well, I can't remember if we did it separately, but a lot of staff also came and looked at desks and things like that. So we understood what the furniture selections would be and how they functioned and sizes. So anything kind of on the inside that's not structural, but more decorative or, you know, soft stuff.
You want to add to that, Michelle? Or?
I think Kathy covered it pretty well. So it's, you know, anything that is an interior finish, and it's not just for decorative reasons, it's for, you know, material for longevity, for cleaning. We look at all of those options and weigh them against each other. And it's, you know, the array of all those finishes for, and all those minute decisions that you make within the inside of a building.
Okay. So we'll be looking for people on this committee to volunteer to be on the Interior Subcommittee. We need to get this up and running fairly shortly, correct, Michelle?
Yes, I'm projecting our first meeting to be on the 16th.
The 16th.
So, and there'll be several meetings throughout this process. The Interior Subcommittee is engaged from the very beginning all the way through the furniture fair, where we pick out those furniture pieces as well. So the Interior Committee actually has a lot of meetings throughout this entire process.
Okay. So those of you with too much time on your hands.
I just wanted to explain how we're meeting. So we are going to try to meet in person, but we also understand a lot of people are not comfortable with that. So we're going to be providing a Zoom access to our meetings. And so there'll be, for both interior and exterior, we'll be sending the materials to 2 different sites for everybody to view in advance. And then we will have both in person and a Zoom or Teams meeting. We'll go through each of those finishes and have those discussions.
Okay, so if you'd like to be on that committee, please contact me right away.
And I think we've also reached out to some folks as well on the, haven't we done that as well?
I haven't.
Are you looking for volunteers now, Jonathan? Because I would like to be on the Interior Subcommittee.
Okay. All right.
And I would too, and I would as well, Jonathan.
Okay.
As a matter of process, since our first meeting is scheduled for the 16th, which predates our next SBC meeting, and I think you have to vote for it, it would be great if you guys could vote for that committee and the members now.
Well, we can vote to form the committee. I can appoint people.
Okay.
I mean, you don't need to have a vote to appoint people. That's within the powers of the chair.
Okay. That's
okay.
good.
To appoint people to subcommittees. So, so we can vote. We can have a vote to form the committee, I believe. and we can do that right now.
So would you like a motion, Jonathan? to
Yes.
Both subcommittees?
Yes.
The members, okay. So I make a motion to establish an exterior finishes subcommittee and an interior finishes subcommittee with members to be appointed by the chair of the school building committee.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to form two subcommittees, interior and exterior finishes committees?
You may want to just circle back on December 23rd as a meeting date. Typically, schools are shut down pretty quickly that afternoon because it's a short day. So we might want to relook at that date.
I had looked at Wednesdays because I think we understood that students were not in school on Wednesdays. And you can tell me if that's not.
No, not
Elementary students in school every day.
Point of order, can we take a vote?
Yeah, we gotta, yeah, let's,
Sorry.
we've got a motion and a second. When the meeting dates can be discussed later. Okay, so is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, Chris, could we get a roll call vote?
Yes. Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
Richard Sapphire,
Yes.
Greg Kenner-Martori,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Donna Compton,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
Gary Frisch, Gary.
Yes.
Yep, thank you. Matt Fusco,
Yep.
Grant Harris,
Yes.
Ben Lummis,
Yes.
Joe Lucido,
Yes.
Jameson Manning,
Yes.
Amy Pasquarello,
Yes.
Adam Roselle,
Yes.
and Kathleen Eunice.
Yes.
Okay, those
Thank you.
passes unanimously. These two committees will be formed. While we're on the subject, Michelle, could you just speak a little bit about what the exterior subcommittee would do?
Sure. So the exterior subcommittee deals with exterior finishes for the building as well as landscape finishes. So we're talking about everything from the stone that we're using for the retaining wall to the bricks that we're using for the building and the color of the MCM, the metal panels on the building. So those kind of finer finishes, the bricks we always get into, is it this red brick or that red brick? There's a lot of distinctions between those. Helping to choose those exact materials, as well as, the materials and the functionality of all those pieces on the exterior of the building.
Okay, so once again, if you want to be on that committee, contact me and we'll appoint a committee. They are going to tentatively meet at the Veteran School on December 23rd. And you'll put up displays of materials at that point. That's why the in-person meetings are somewhat essential for this committee. Correct?
And the materials will be available for viewing on the 17th for the exterior and on the 14th for the interior, if those are the dates that we're deciding on.
Okay. All right. So once again, get a hold of me. If I don't get enough volunteers, I'll start making calls and drafting. Okay.
I'll volunteer for the exterior committee.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to be on that one as well.
Yes, that's why I was waiting for that.
Thanks.
Just for references, did we get this? That was Matt, and who was the other on the
Jameson.
Jameson, okay. And Jameson, I would like to apologize. I misspelled your name. I used an E, not an I.
Hey, that's okay. Worst things have happened.
We'll fix that. Sorry.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So once again, we'll form these committees as quickly as possible, and we have a little bit of a basis, and we'll see we'll have to shake the trees a little bit to get a few more members. So,
You could probably put me on the interior.
okay, Adam,
balance
great.
things out. Yeah.
And Jonathan, I'll be on both.
Both.
I mean, I'll, yeah.
'Cause you don't have much to do, right?
No, it's just what's the thing to do?
Just trying to fill your day out.
You and I could talk, and maybe I just attend. Yeah, yeah. You should put me on there.
All right, good. All right, anything else on the subcommittees?
I'll participate in exterior.
Oh, great. Thank you, Greg. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So the last item we have is the design development update. And Michelle and Brad. I think Brad's here now, right?
Sorry, I constantly lose my unmute button. So actually, if you could go forward, I just want to start with the last two slides and talk about the pieces that we just talked about. Back, SD, one more, back.
One more?
One more back, yep, okay. So just to circle back to the difference between SD development and DD development. This is not your building, but this is an example of where we were with SD at the end of that SD process. You can see that you know where all the rooms and spaces are, you know how big they are, you know where they fit into the building, you know how big the overall building is, and you have a general sense of what the exterior building will look like and what those materials are. If you go forward one, please. Thank you. This is where we're bringing to the DD level. And I know you can't all read that, but you can see that it's far more detailed and far more involved. So not only are you looking at every single room, but you can see there in the smaller lower part there, you're actually detailing column details and exterior wall details to a really fine point of understanding what every material is and how they come together. And that is part of the DD process, so that when you, at the end of the DD process, when we go out for cost estimating, we put our specifications out there, you're really improving on that number that you got when you were looking at the SD numbers. You can see we're doing full building sections. We understand where all the pipes are going and how they're, well, we understand where most of the pipes are going and how their vents are working and how everything is transferring between each of the floor levels. And as you get into the exterior building materials, you begin to fully understand coursing for brick and openings and how big they are and all the details around each of those pieces. If you go one more forward, I think there's one more slide for this.
There's the, yes.
Yeah, and then so that's for the sort of the building envelope, fully understanding the building envelope. And then when you move inside, and again, this is not your building, you begin to talk about your level of material. So through the SD submission, we had an understanding of, the drywall, and we had a color theory, and we had, some understanding of what we were using for our ceilings and those kinds of things. At this level, we begin to pick out things like lighting fixtures and the exact wall tiles and the flooring materials and colors. We developed that entire color palette and make sure that all our blues are matching and across the palettes, and where we're going to have different kinds of surfaces and textures. So that is sort of the big picture of what the difference between our SD and our DD set is. And you can see that to get from there to where we want to be at the end of March, it will take us quite a bit of work. So that's why we're asking for these subcommittees to help us get through all of this at a quicker pace, because this group here meets regularly once a month. I think we have a few extra meetings in this earlier phase just to help move that process along and make sure that we're sticking to our deadlines and our end goal. So now if you go back to that site plan, I just wanted to talk about some of the work that we have been doing in this process in between. I believe that through our last meeting, many of you knew that we had gone out to the site to do some additional borings. So this site We had borings that were done in 1955 for the original building. We had some borings that were done as part of the Light Up Mados Field project. Those are in the red squares. And then we have in our feasibility and schematic portion of our study, we did a series of borings. And then throughout that process, through that schematic process, we actually shifted the building and moved it and turned it based on some information that we had gathered from those first borings, and two, some of the information through our authorities having jurisdiction through the public safety and building committee, those kinds of groups that we talked about that road that goes around the building. It started out being more narrow. It got wider towards the end of our project. It got even wider in the back so that we could provide more space for overflow and other spaces. So that building, it moved and it twisted and it turned. So we wanted to go back and make sure that we were getting some borings in other locations that were outside of the original piece. So that was the work that we've done just recently. And so we do know, and not much, we've gotten some information back, not much of it changed. So what we know is the soils to the left portion of the building, those are pretty good. We're going to be on shallow foundations and a slab on grade in that portion of the building. But our soils to the right portions of the building, these are clay to 25 feet, not very much unlike what we had up at West Parish. So our structural soils improvement will be a rammed aggregate pier. So those of you who were with us in that West Parish project might remember us talking about RAPs, the rammed aggregate piers. Those are similar to what we're doing here. These will be reinforced. So we have a little bit more structure going into these piers. So what they do is they reinforce the soils, making it a structural soil so that we can then put our foundations on that soil. So we know what they are. We know that the extent of what they're going to be. We included these in our cost for the schematic design. So we already know the cost that's already been included. What we found out recently doesn't change anything that we knew in the past. It just reinforced the information that we had back then. The other piece that I wanted to talk a little bit about was groundwater. So we also know that we had some high groundwater here. Groundwater here is currently, in our lowest portion of the site, it's about 3 feet below the soil, roughly. But we're also we're doing these ground improvements for structural reasons, and then we're also raising the grade throughout this, coming up to, I think, elevation 48. So the groundwater is down at 43, and we're coming up. Our slab on grade is going to be up at 48, elevation 48. So we're going well above the water table. So we don't anticipate any water issues within the building area of this site. And we're also improving the water. We have a subsurface water storage and flow that will be taking all the water away from the building, and we're storing it on site and letting it move through the soils as part of our civil engineering process. So
and no basement.
And no basement. Thank you. Yes, everything is shallow foundations and slab on grade on that at elevation 48. So that is some of the work that we've been doing in this interim. Throughout this process, we may get a few more borings while we're out there before we start digging. Just in a few, you can see there's some spaces there in the middle, but right now I think we've done a lot of the ground investigation, and we really understand what we have for soils. Does anybody have any questions about that?
In terms of the holding areas for the water and the runoff, which then obviously then is absorbed into the soil. Yeah, is that where is that happening? Right there.
So that we have a bioretention area right there. So that is for overflow water, but our holding tanks they're below the ground in the parking areas, and they
Okay,
slow down the flow of water.
So the runoff goes, essentially the runoff goes into those tanks, in those holding areas.
Mhm.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions before we move on? Like I say, just speak up because I can't see everybody.
I will unshare my screen because that's the end of the show.
At the end of the show. Right.
So now you can see everyone.
Great. Okay, there's nothing else on the agenda, I believe. Once again, I'll remind people that if they want to be on the interior, the exterior materials committee, finishes and materials committee, please contact me soon so we can put together meetings for the subcommittees. We're meeting again next week, same time, same station. Anything else before we go?
Jonathan, could Michelle just give a quick update, very, very brief on what the committee, what the primary work of the committee is next week?
I can. So on the 17th, we should be getting a temporary facilities update. You'll know how many people have put in for the swing space. And so we'll have that update. We'll be looking at, I'll be updating the committee with some of the information that we've been getting back. We've had conversations with Joe Lucido and with Grant Harris regarding proprietary items. So we'll be coming back to the group with a list. We'll be starting to talk about what those proprietary items are and forming the reasons why we want those to be proprietary versus basis of design. And so we're going to be asking eventually for this group to approve those. We're going to start those conversations next week. We'll we'll be looking at the schedule update. I'll have a request for radon testing, whether or not we can do that over the Christmas break. And that's what I had on my list.
Great.
For starters.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anything else before we go? Okay, seeing none. Thank you all very much. Could we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, that's moved and seconded. Roll call vote. Chris?
Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
Rich Sapphire,
Yes.
Greg Carter Mortori,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes, and it's nice to see the 3 new faces as part of this meeting.
Donna Compton,
Yes.
John Dunn,
Yes.
Gary Frisch,
Yes.
Matt Fusco.
Yes, go Pats.
Yeah. Grant Harris,
Yes.
Ben Lummis,
Yes.
Joe Lucido,
Yes.
Jameson Manning,
Yes.
Amy Pasquarello,
Yes.
Adam Roselle,
Yes.
and Kathleen Eunice.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned and we'll see you soon.